Today we live in the age of authenticity. What does that mean? It means this. It's an age where we love to express our individuality. It's about us showing our personality, our individuality. You cannot tell me I'm this or that. I tell you who I am. On the last check that I checked, the last time I checked, there was now over hundreds, even probably growing even more now, of gender. There's not just male and female today. There's over hundreds, even more now. I don't know how many. I couldn't keep count. This is come out of this age of authenticity. You cannot tell me what I am or who I am. It's a way of me expressing myself. So, in this age of authenticity, it's about being authentic self, right? Some of these values are as follow. I'm going to read for us some of the values. There are plenty more, but these are some of the values that I think some of us could relate to. First, my freedom and happiness is the greatest good. My freedom and my happiness is priority. Anything that restricts my freedom and happiness must be eliminated, must be removed. Society must tolerate my self-expression. Intolerance to my self-expression, what I say I am or what I want to do, is intolerant, and it's a terrible evil. You'll be called bigot if you oppose me. Humans are inherently good. Beware of external authority. Embrace personal authenticity. So in this age, people tend to avoid or hate, in a sense, or oppose some sort of authority. Children tell their parents, you can't tell me what to do. This is 21st century. Stop telling me back in my days, that doesn't apply to me or apply to us today anymore. You tell your boss that, you tell the government that. So we don't like to be told what to do. Now, after I list all that, how do you feel? Do you relate to any of those at all, those values that I read to you? If you do, then the teaching of the Bible would be a challenge to you. It will be difficult to accept to you. Because you want to live for yourself, the way you want to live yourself, how you want to live it. You don't give anything to anyone to tell you what to do and how to live your life. You want to live for yourself in a way you want to live it, and no one can tell you anything or how you should live it. If you're parents, try that to your kids, and you'll know what I mean. Back in my days, whatever my parents say, you do. That's it, right? You gotta live under their roof. You gotta eat the food that they earn. You gotta listen. Now it's totally different. Parents can't do that anymore. They might report you of abuse. What we'll see today in our passage is what it means to be a Christian. What it means to be a Christian is to challenge the dominant values of the present time, of the present age, to challenge it. To not just accept it, but to challenge it if you're a Christian, and to follow Jesus means that. So this passage is really about what it means to follow Jesus as opposed to following the values of this present age. In other words, what is the cost of a disciple? Okay? So what is the cost of a disciple? That's the essence of today's message. So 3 things I'm going to talk about, the cost. First is pride. Secondly, money or power. And third thing is life. Pride, money or power, and life. The first one, pride. So let's read again from verse 1 to 2. from John 12. 6 days before the Passover, Jesus therefore came to Bethany, where Lazarus was, whom Jesus had raised from the dead. So he set the context for us. Passover, and Jesus has just raised Lazarus from the dead. So they gave a dinner for him there. Martha, the sister, one of the sisters, served, and Lazarus was one of those reclining with him at the table. So if you've been paying attention, this is the third Passover in the Gospel of John. There's only 3 Passover in the Gospel of John. This is the last Passover for Jesus before he is going to be crucified. And this is the 12th chapter. So in the 12 chapters of the book of John covers a period of about 3 years. Now if you look ahead, there's only about 9 chapters left. And and there's no more Passover. That's going to cover only for a couple of months period. So for the first 12 chapters, what we call the book of signs, cover about 3 years. And the rest of the book of John, 9 chapters left, going to cover only about a couple of months of Jesus' life. So that tells us that things are about to get more serious here. Like if you're in an action movie, this is where everything going to be bang, 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 bang. There's no more background story here. It's going to be just action full on from here on. So it's about to get intensified. And after the incident, what happened is, after the incident of the raising of Lazarus, what happened is the Jews now intensified their attempt to kill Jesus. This is the context. Okay? So what is the cause of a disciple? Verse 3 says this: Mary took a pound of expensive ointment made from pure nard and anointed the feet of Jesus and wiped his feet with her hair. The house was filled with the fragrance of perfume. We don't live in a culture where we wash people's feet. But the washing of feet in the Near Eastern culture is quite different to what we perhaps imagine today, because we have shoes on today. Back in those days, they have open footwear. They don't have a pathway that is clean like ours. So what it means is their feet, when they enter someone's house or their own home, their feet will be very dirty from dust. Also, animals' dung, animals' refuse. So the washing of feet in the Near Eastern culture is left to oneself to clean. You don't have someone else to clean your feet. You do it yourself because it's such a dirty, demeaning things to do. Now, we can't imagine that because we got shoes. Anyone ride a horse here to church? No, we drove our car, right? Funny thing about horses, someone just told me yesterday, there's an outdated law in Australia that basically says any polling station where you do voting must provide a place for you to tie your horse and water your horse, even until today. So what it means is if you don't want to vote, you can have an excuse, say, well, I can't come, you cannot fine me for not coming and voting because you don't have a place for me to tie and water my horse. Somebody say that to me. I didn't check whether it's true or not, but you can check that. We don't experience that. It's clean for us. Washing someone's feet, it's no big deal because I've seen this being practiced in some church, right, where the washing of feet, it's no different. Their feet, it's quite different. Their feet are clean to the washing of feet in those days. So it's quite demeaning. It's a lowly task, and to the point that some historians say in some districts, they even made it illegal to force your slave to wash your feet. They don't even allow slave to be forced to wash your feet. And here we see what happened when Mary washed Jesus' feet. Do you notice another thing in this passage? She washed his feet with her hair. Now, hair, perhaps we can't relate as well unless you're a Muslim. We don't cover our hair. Women don't cover our hair. But in those days, women covered their hair because it is their pride. So, Covering of hair is Near Eastern culture thing, not a Muslim thing, okay? So the women in those days would have covered their hair as well. He would have taken it off and wash and wipe Jesus' feet with her hair. So in other words, see, to cover her hair in public, which is her pride, is to be disgraceful. That's what she did for Jesus. That's how much she loved Jesus. That's how she followed Jesus as a disciple, and it cost her her pride. How about us? How about you? What are the things that cost you or your pride being a disciple of Jesus? What does it cost you? Think about it. Has it cost you anything? What is the cost of your devotion to Jesus? To say, like, I'm a follower of Jesus, I'm a disciple of Jesus. For many Christians, it doesn't cost them anything, really. It costs them a petrol to come to church and spend the next hour or so in church, perhaps talking to people. If you're an introvert, that's probably a bit difficult. But yeah, that's your cost, you know. Perhaps that's all the extent of your cost for being a disciple of Christ. See, pride says this: God, you owe me a better life because of what I've done for you. You look at your life, you come to church, you approach God, you say, God, you owe me. You know, I wake up early. You know I wake up usually 10 o'clock, but today on Sunday is the day I wake up early. Or you say Monday to Friday, Lord, I work hard, and before I go to work, I pray. I've done this and that. You say, God, that's what pride is saying to you. When you come, you say, God, you owe me. You owe me. But Jesus say this: you must give your life, your personal happiness, if you want to be my disciple. It's no longer about you. If you say you want to be my disciple, Jesus say, you must give up your life. You must give up your own happiness. Because only by giving them up, you may attain them. You may have them. That's what Jesus say. So religious people come to church to get something from God. Christians who come to church, I call them religious people. They come to church to gain something from God. They say, God, I've done this. I've been good. I've served you. Now you owe me. You owe me a better life. You better grant my prayer. But disciples, on the other hand, don't approach it in such a way. They come to church. They say, God, you owe me nothing. In fact, you've given me everything that I do not deserve. Now, I give my life to you. How can I serve you? That's a disciple. And that's the attitude of Mary when they come to Jesus. It's like, God, you have given me everything that I do not deserve one bit. Because if Jesus and God give us things that we deserve, then it's a wage, it's a pay, salary. But we don't deserve any of the things that God gave us. So this was the cost Mary had to pay to follow Jesus, to be a disciple. She washed his feet with her hair. So that's pride, the first one. The second one, money or power. I always relate money and power because money, if it has no power, doesn't give you power, generally, don't means nothing. So there, imagine you are in a deserted island. There's nothing you could buy. There's no one else but you have $2 million or $100 million. It means nothing because that money has no power to you or gives you no power. So money always related to power most of the time. It can relate to other things, but it always relate to something else. And the second point that you have to look at in your life, being a disciple of Christ, that may cost you is money or power. Let's read from John 12, 4-5. But Judas Iscariot, one of the disciples, he who was about to betray him, said, why was this ointment not sold for 300 denarii and given to the poor? It's about money. For Judas, it's about money. Now, not only being a disciple costs Mary's her pride, but it costs her wallet also. It affects her wallet as well. Before we are quick to judge Judas, though, That's our natural tendency, like, oh, come on, Judas, he's a traitor, he betrayed Jesus, right? And he only think about money and all those things. But before we quick to judge, if you use ESV Bible like me, there's a footnote on 300 denarii. So look at that footnote now. What does it say on the footnote? It says 1 denarii is 1 day wage, 1 day pay. So 300 denarii equivalent to 1 year's salary. So that's what Mary poured on Jesus' feet. 1 year salary. So before we are quick to judge Judas, think about this. How much do you earn in a year? What's your annual income? Okay, you got that figure in your head? Or it's too big because you don't know, it's just too much, Doesn't matter. Have that number in your head. How much do you earn in a year? And think about this. How long have you followed Jesus in your life? And have you ever, even once in your life, given anyone something that costs equivalent to a year of your salary? Most of us would say, no. That's a lot. And that's what Mary did for Jesus. So I've heard personally many stories of generosity of Jesus' disciples. Now, I'm going to share with you just a few that I remember that come to my mind when I write this sermon. And saying this, I have the privilege and honor to be the recipient end of this generosity myself. So I'm very grateful as well to be the recipient end, and I'm honored. But let me share with you some of this generosity that I've heard and read or know the person personally. Now, a family once that I know gave a brand new apartment to my pastor in Sydney. A brand new apartment. Because my pastors were renting at that time. And they said, well, you serve us well, here's a key to a brand new apartment. I don't know how much that costs, but Sydney, an apartment costs at least a few $100,000, at least. And that's not it. That's not the generosity. It is generous, but that's not the generosity. The generosity comes when my pastor said, well, we as a church still renting. How can I live in a house of my own when the church is still renting? So he sold the apartment and gave the whole amount to the treasury of the church so that we can buy our own building. And then more famous, that perhaps you know this, is the famous American pastor by the name of Rick Warren. He started like any other disciple of Jesus. He gave 10% of his income to God. 10%, tithe. That's normal. But then he made a commitment. Every year he would increase that percentage until one day he would have reversed tithe. He would keep the 10% and give away the 90%. That's Rick Warren. And then there's another couple, husband and wife. Both husband and wife are working. They work and they earn about an equal amount of salary, and they committed to give one income away and live on one income. And then there are many disciples that I've heard that they do this, is that they committed to live on a fixed income. What it means is this: when they get a pay rise, when they get a bonus, that automatically goes to a giving column. When God upgrades their wealth, they upgrade their giving, not their lifestyle. And those are just some of the examples of those who are a disciple of Jesus. What does this mean? You may say to me that, well, I don't have much money. Well, fine, I'm not talking about money, even though the example is about wealth and stuff, but I'm not specifically talking about money here. I'm talking about everything, because that's the principle of the scripture. It's about giving your everything to Jesus. What do you have with you? Because there's a widow that Jesus witnessed in the temple that gives only a coin, and Jesus say she gives more than anyone else. Because it's not about giving them, it's not about the money, it's about what do you have with you? What do you keep for yourself? When you become a disciple of Jesus, you are entirely, your whole being are His. The Gospel of John has been telling us that Jesus is never interested in crowds or mere followers. Jesus is interested in disciples. But when it comes to giving everything, there's a story of a man that comes to Jesus asking this very question. So Matthew 19, 16 to 22. And I'm going to read it for us. And behold, a man came up to him saying, Teacher, what good deed must I do to have eternal life? And he said to him, Why do you ask me about what is good? There's only one who is good. If you would enter life, keep the commandments. He said to him, Which ones? And Jesus said, You shall not murder, you shall not commit adultery, you shall not steal, you shall not bear false witness, honor your father and mother, and you shall love your neighbor as yourself. And the young man said to him, Well, all this I've kept. What do I still lack? And Jesus said to him, If you would be perfect, go and sell what you possess and give to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven, and come and follow me. Notice what Jesus said here. You cannot come and follow me before you do that. Do that, and then you can be my disciples. And when the young man heard this, he went away sorrowful, for he had great possessions. What is your possession? What is the thing that you're holding on to that you do not want to let go? The reason remember I say money/power? The idea here is power and control. Money is just one of the dominant one in our culture today. But it's just, perhaps that's not your thing. Perhaps other thing that give you power and control in your life. Perhaps that's not money. For some of you, yes, perhaps you have been tight-fisted Christian. Very tight-fisted. That means if you are that means you need to open your hands. Instead of being tight-fisted, you need to open your hands. Someone once said that Jesus hasn't got into your heart if He hasn't got into your wallet. For most of us who money is an issue for us, issue as in it's something that we tightly hold on to, we can give everything to Jesus except our wallet. But if that's not you, for others, to be disciples of Jesus means you have to lose some of your relationships. Perhaps you are a relational person, that this is your thing. You say, I can't let go of them. I can't, do this or that. And it's all surround relationship. To follow Jesus means some of your relationship may need to go. Tim Keller once said this, when you follow Jesus, you will have a new spiritual accounting system. You will be able to say, the love I lose for Christ will be nothing like the love I will get from Christ. A new accounting system, a new principle. The love I lose for Christ will be nothing like the love I will get from Christ. To be a disciple, you believe that. You can be open hands. You can sacrifice. Or perhaps power and control is your thing. You don't care about relationship. You don't care so much about money. But as long as you feel like you're in control, you want to have authority. Jesus said you must give that up also. Because people like this will not take the authority of the Bible or Jesus' words. Because they say, well, I don't approve of that. You must give that up also. All this time, perhaps you've been in control of your life, and you never have to answer to anyone, and you don't want to answer to anyone. Being a disciple means now you have to let that go and sit under the authority of Jesus. When you become a disciple, you don't say, God, what are you going to do for me? Instead, you say, God, here I am, use me. Use my talent, use my wealth, use my time, use my talent and skills and everything that I have. This is me. This is my life. Use it. It's at your disposal. Now, the cost you pay, all of that, the cost that you pay, doesn't make you a disciple, but it shows whether or not you are a disciple. Let me say that again. The cost you pay, the cost you sacrifice, does not make you a disciple, but it just shows whether you are a disciple or not. The third thing that will cost you to be a disciple of Christ is life itself. John 11:45. So we turn back now. We were in John 12. Now the last part of John 11. 45 to 53. Many of the Jews, therefore, who had come with Mary and had seen what he did, believed in him, believed in Jesus. But some of them went to the Pharisees and told them what Jesus had done. So the chief priests and the Pharisees gathered the council and said, "What are we to do? For this man performs many signs. If we let him go on like this, everyone will believe in him, and the Romans will come and take away both our place and our nation." But one of them, Caiaphas, who was the high priest that year, said to them, "You know nothing at all, nor do you understand that it is better for you that one man should die for the people, not that the whole nation should perish." He did not say this of his own accord, but being a high priest that year, he prophesied that Jesus would die for the nation, and not for the nation only, but also to gather into one the children of God who are scattered abroad. So from that day on, they made plans to put him to death. Now, what happens here is the Jews say, if Jesus carry on raising people from the dead, the Romans gonna come, people are gonna follow him, the crowd gonna follow him, the Romans gonna come, they think there will be insurrection, there will be a coup, and they're gonna take our homes, they're gonna take our temple. And they don't want that. They said, we better kill Jesus. And that's when Caiaphas say, it's better for him to die, rather than the Romans come and get us all. It's better for Jesus to be killed, rather than all of us, all our homes, our temple be taken away. So that's what happened there. Now, the cost of a disciple is not only pride or money or power, but life itself. And Jesus shows us this. What do I mean by that? It means this. The cost of discipleship or being a disciple is not something that you do, but who you are. Because who you are will affect what you do. But what you do may not necessarily reflect who you are. So being a disciple means the cost is not only something that you do, but who you are. People can give much to Jesus, but their heart has not been changed. There's still places in their life that is out of bounds for Jesus. But when your life has been touched by God, has been transformed by Jesus, there's no area in your life that is out of bounds for Jesus to enter. So you don't have to be disciples, you see, to be humble. You don't have to be a disciple of Jesus to be generous. In fact, some people say a lot of the most generous people are not disciples. They are not believers. They are not Christians. So it shows that you don't have to be a disciple to be generous. But you cannot not be generous if you're a disciple. Now, this is what happened. After Lazarus raised from the dead, the Jews want to kill Jesus. The question is why? Because they're afraid people will follow Jesus. And in other words, that Jesus will stuff it up for them. Jesus will stuff it up for the Jews, for their lifestyle. They will take their homes. They will take the temple. That's their fear. They don't care whether Jesus performs miracle or not, raising people from the dead or not. They don't care. But as soon as they see people following Jesus and they see the possibility that the Romans will come, it did happen in 70 AD, 30 years, 40 years after Jesus' death, that what they fear happened. So they fear that, and they want to kill Jesus. So that's why they want to kill Jesus. It's not necessarily because Jesus raised Lazarus from the dead, but because it will affect them personally. There are people in your life that don't care whether you're Christians or not until your life affect them. Until your belief affect their life. And this is what happened to the Jews. So the Jews are afraid. They say, like, this is going to cost us. How about you? Because the Jews clearly choosing their home and their temple over Jesus. What are you choosing in your life that is you choose over Jesus? What is it that you choose and that you say, I want to hold on to this instead of letting it go? What is your temple that you're holding on to as the Jews did? That's the question I'm asking. What is your temple that you're holding on so tightly this morning that you refuse to let go? What is it that you fear losing if you choose Jesus? Or if you become a disciple? People say, if you don't become Christian, that's fine. Just don't go overboard. Go Sunday church, that's okay. But don't go overboard. Don't be one of those fanatics, the radicals. What is it that you fear losing if you choose Jesus and be his disciples? So to follow Jesus and to be his disciple is to give up everything. Everything that is in your life. But as you give it up, the Bible says, you may have them abundantly. Do you see that? Now that is a new spiritual accounting system, isn't it? Because the world accounting system says this. You want to have more? You keep more. The new spiritual accounting that the Bible teaches, that Jesus teaches us is this. You want to have more? Give more. You want to have abundantly? Give everything. That's the principle. Now, Christians have problems with this because we are living in this age of authenticity. It's about my good, my personal good. When you give everything about that you have, it's no longer about your personal good. It's about the good of others. And that's the language of the Bible. The language of the Bible is always one another. Never about me, myself, and I. But Jesus promised, as you do that, the accounting system in Christianity is this: as you give, as you are generous, God will be generous to you. Now, that is not our motivation, never our motivation, because we don't give to be disciples, remember? It's disciples who give. Let me read for us John 12, 9-11. When the large crowd of the Jews learned that Jesus was there, they came, not only on account of him, not just for Jesus, but also to see Lazarus, whom he had raised from the dead. So the chief priests made plans to put Lazarus to death as well, for the second time. Because on account of him, many of the Jews were going away and believing in Jesus. That is what happening to Lazarus. What a luck. He's just been raised to death and people now try to kill him. Now, when you receive a new life in Jesus Christ, when you become Jesus' disciple, when people say you are one of those radical people sought to kill you, quote unquote kill you. Somehow you're no longer a friend, they don't like you anymore. They say, man, John, you're changed, man. Isaac, man, you're different now, man. That's how they try to kill you. Whatever important to you, like relationship, they're now going to take that away from you. If money is your thing, then your boss says, sorry, we can't have a bigot working for us. Your belief is bigotry, and there's no place for that. It might cost you that. It might cost you your job. So what do we do? For most of us, a lot of Christians, we become undercover Christian. That's what we do. We become a spy agent Christian. No one knows that we are Christian. No one knows that we're a disciple. That's what we choose to do. We don't want to bear the consequences, that is, to be killed, quote unquote killed. Perhaps it's easier in some country, you may say, the threat to be killed physically. Perhaps not. Let me read Matthew 16:12 24, 25. Then Jesus told his disciple, if anyone would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whoever would save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. That is a new equation, a new accounting system for Christians. See, the difference between Christianity and being religious or any other religion is this. Other religions, being religious is this. You must sacrifice for your God. That's other religion. But Christianity says this. God is the sacrifice. All other religions say you must do this, must do that. You must sacrifice your money, your time. You must do all this to please your God. But only Christianity and calm that says, I am your sacrifice. So when you see it that way, that God has sent His Son to be our sacrifice, you no longer see what you're giving up on for Jesus to be a sacrifice. You no longer see that giving up 10%, 20%, 30% of what God has given you to be a sacrifice. It's ridiculous to see it that way. I like to say this. Imagine as you come in church this morning, the usher hand out $50 to every person. And then as I preach, I said, now, remember, you received that $50? Now, can you give 20% back? Just give $10 back to church of the $50 that you received at the door. You would give it happily. That wouldn't be a sacrifice because you know what you have received. And Christianity say, God says, Jesus say, I am your sacrifice. Now all these things I say, giving up your life, it's not a sacrifice. It's just to show that you now understood my sacrifice, to have received my sacrifice in your life. So only when you see and understand the extent of Jesus' sacrifice for us, that He don't really demand quote-unquote sacrifice from us, only then you can truly be His disciple and joyfully quote-unquote sacrifice for the sake of the kingdom. And you will know that your little sacrifice is pale by comparison. Let us pray.